Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show. Wave your hand out there, baby!
Shout out to the show.
She puts the pinky into the nostril. Man, look at that.
Healthy competition, there's nothing like it.
Y'all grow up.
The line's wrapped around the stadium.
Different strengths. Mm-hmm. I just lost a tooth.
It's going to be fun.
You know, we might have a story.
I love what you're doing.
Ogeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
Sharif, you play for the bad boys of the SEC, man. We don't apologize to anybody.
A lot of people are saying you're going to be wearing number 7.
I don't really know. I want to.
He look crazy, Bill. Good feet on the old man.
Definitely come back.
We'll be right back with the Jordy Culotta Show. Welcome into a Monday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet, live here on this Monday. Shout out to our guys over at Go, G-E-A-U-X, Chevrolet.com. You can also find them down in LaPlace, Louisiana. Stop in and check out the new truck selection down there in LaPlace. G-E-A-U-X, Chevrolet.com is where you find them online, and you can always shop them down there with a great truck selection. Lots to get to here on this Selection Monday. Day after Selection Sunday, LSU women get a number 3 seed. Little surprising. I know that was talked a little about last week, but I really didn't think that it was going to happen as LSU women get a 3 seed as they'll open up in Baton Rouge at the Maravich Center versus Hawaii is the team that they'll start against. So LSU is in at the 3 seed. And, of course, the men's Selection Sunday yesterday, the number 1 seeds were announced as Alabama is the overall number 1 seed. Kansas, Purdue, and Houston are the other top line seeds in this field of 68 for the NCAA tournament that gets cranked up this week. We'll get to that coming up here. Some of the snubs, some of the teams left out. Kansas dealing with a little bit of adversity heading in to the tournament as Bill Self missed some time with a medical procedure over the weekend as they were run off the court by Texas, beat by 20 in the Big 12 semifinal game. So lots to get to as we'll talk a little bit about that. How about Texas A&M with the 7 seed? Buzz Williams, if you recall his rant last year where his team was left out of the field and was an NIT team, he had one of those just kind of like press conference, press table rants that was really aimed at the selection committee. It seems as if somebody in that room was listening to it and didn't forget about it because Texas A&M feels as they were slighted a bit at the 7 seed, but it does set up a second round potential matchup with the University of Texas that should be, if nothing else, a phenomenal environment with the Longhorns as a 2 seed and the Aggies as a 7 seed. It'll be fun to talk and get the tournament going here this week. It's always such a great time in the sports calendar and sports season to talk NCAA March Madness, and here we are in week 1 of the tourney as it gets going with some really, really good matchups to start. So what's some of the matchups that stand out to you? Jump inside of the chat. Remember, you can jump inside the chat each and every day, and our phone lines brought to you by Metropolitan Health Group. Metropolitan Health Group, real doctors, real solutions, as Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan always supporting us over here at the Jordy Culotta Show, which we always appreciate. Check them out. Hit that like button, share button, comment button. Huge basketball news in the state of Louisiana. As we mentioned last week, and we thought that it was really trending in the direction of going to happen, Will Wade was announced over the weekend and will be formally introduced for the press conference today down in Lake Charles, where he has been named the McNeese State head basketball coach. Wade and Heath Schroyer, the athletics director down at McNeese, were photographed yesterday jumping on a jet and getting down to Lake Charles and sewing the deal up in front of a brand new arena and a lot of support as Will Wade is back in basketball just a year after being removed as LSU's head coach. And as we said last week, and we can start here, and we'll get to baseball, LSU baseball run rules again over the weekend. Samford, they'll make a trip to College Station over the weekend to take on Texas A&M, and we're trying to chase down Doug Thompson, and I'm sure at some point we'll talk to him about the weekend where LSU just showed off, man. I mean, looks like the number one team in the country, feels like the number one team in the country. They won their 10th straight, which is a 10-win record streak here, the longest since 2017 on the win streak. So they are playing just right heading in to conference play as Texas A&M will host LSU here on the opening weekend of SEC play. But to start it in basketball, and we'll get to women as well. LSU women were named yesterday as a 3 seed, and as we said, they'll open up in the Maravich Center versus Hawaii as the 14th seeded Rainbows will be here to take on LSU. That'll be Friday inside of the PMAC on March 17th. The other teams here are going to be Michigan, who's a 6 seed, and UNLV's down here is the 11. So LSU and Hawaii will get going on the women's side on Friday. As far as here in the state, obviously LSU men's basketball season came to an end over the weekend or even before the weekend during the SEC title game. And there was a lot of news that was trending in and around the state of Louisiana that Will Wade was going to be back in basketball. And in fact, Wade was, as we said yesterday, announced kind of on social media. It started to happen, but officially will be announced today in Lake Charles as the next head coach for McNeese. And for Wade, it was obvious. He had to get back into the game. He was itching to get back. He wanted to coach. He's not really an NBA guy. He loves to recruit. He loves the development. He loves the teaching part of basketball. He loves the college level of the college basketball game or of basketball. And for him, he just wanted to get back in. And there were teams, obviously, that were interested. I mean, there are dozens of jobs that are open in the sport and much higher profile, no disrespect, than McNeese basketball. And there were teams that were interested in Will Wade, where I can speak with, defiance. I know with certainty that there were teams that were calling Wade curious of, hey, what's the timeline of when you're going to hear back what and if there are any penalties from your hearing a couple of weeks back in front of the NCAA. And Wade and his representation truly have no idea, which is a great just disservice and injustice from the NCAA, where they can just dangle you out there and sacrifice you and potential earnings and potential jobs because they just want to, right? I mean, like, really, what else do they have to do? If I can give any example about how people feel about Will Wade and the LSU basketball treatment from the NCAA, I would just direct you to Miami women's basketball, where they had a NCAA issue pop up within this season, and they are now on probation because, not sure if you've heard about this. I wouldn't suspect that you did. But Miami has a huge booster, John Ruiz, who is hell-bent and determined on making Miami sports, athletics, football, the whole department. He wants them to be relevant again. He's a billionaire. He will stop at no cost. There's a set of twins that are on Miami's women's basketball team that were high-profile recruits. The Cavender twins is their name. They're all over social media. They're easy to find, but they have an enormous social media following and several NIL deals. And there was a picture that popped up on social media of John Ruiz and the Cavender twins during the recruitment of the Cavenders within the last year. Within the last year that has happened. the NCAA has seen the evidence, ruled on the evidence, and in fact, given back the penalties to the University of Miami where they were given sanctions for the interaction between that booster and the Cavender twins during their recruitment. They're both on campus. The LSU Will Wade situation is now approaching 5 years in which this has been discussed, been talked about, and still no one has mentioned anything about it from the NCAA level about having any penalties, what they found, nothing official. So I would point towards the University of Miami and tell you and show you that when they have the evidence, when they have the proof, when they have the opportunity to rule on a case, they can do it in a timely fashion. As far as the LSU and Will Wade case go, all I can tell you is that they've said nothing, and their track record shows if they have anything, they're going to say it pretty quick because they know what their perception is. They know what people think about them. They know that people really believe they don't have any meaning. They don't have any purpose. So when they can show that they do, they want to run and get onto the stage and hand out sanctions. There's nothing around LSU basketball. There's nothing around Will Wade. There's nothing to report. There's nothing that the IARP learned that they're going to now turn around and rule on Wade that's going to keep him out of the game. There's nothing there. And the fact that they've heard that, they know that, and that they're just going to continue to stretch this thing out while schools are interested in Wade, and they still won't give a ruling of, hey, look, it's a 1-year show clause. It's nothing. It's, oh, we found this, so it's going to be that. It's none of that. They're just going to continue to play this, cat and mouse game of stretching it out and continuing to really, put Will Wade and his family in a position where, they're losing earning power. They're losing potential jobs because, people out there are curious. Hey, what's the timeline? What are the penalties going to be? And all Wade and his representation can say is what they know. They didn't learn anything new. There's nothing to report. The rulings and the hearings really went advantage Wade a lot of the time. It's not going to be dire if there's anything. But schools like Ole Miss or other bigger schools on the market can't just in good faith say, okay, we'll take a chance. That has to be written in contract. That has to be legally agreed upon before anybody can make a move. Now, if you're McNeese and there's no real, if you call the NCAA and say, hey, look, we're hiring Will Wade, the NCAA says, well, we can't stop you from doing that. McNeese says, okay, cool. We'll take the potential penalty of whatever comes in hiring him and trade that in the risk and reward of, hey, we'll take the public relations, we'll take the media, we'll take the hiring, we'll take bringing him back to Louisiana, we'll take all of what can be built from momentum standpoint and ride that wave into a brand new arena, into a support system for basketball that, is obviously committed to winning. And now you've got Wade back in the state of Louisiana coaching against LSU. I mean, I know it's not directly against LSU, but from the standpoint of where LSU is in the rebuilding of their basketball program, this is a huge hit. And I said that last week, and there were people that were, wondering, how could you compare LSU to McNeese? I'm not doing that. I'm taking the personalities that are leading the programs where Matt McMahon is built to coach a solid basketball program, in my opinion, this is just my opinion of the whole situation, because I'm telling you, this is going to have a big effect on LSU. And this now makes LSU, to a degree, almost feel like a smaller product in their own state from a basketball standpoint. Stewie, disagree, agree? Put it on this poll. I mean, really, today, how do you feel about LSU basketball compared to McNeese basketball? And I say this with this in mind. Will Wade could have used a guy like Matt McMahon while he was at LSU. Wade could have used a guy that sat next to him that understood the game like Matt McMahon does. And that's non-debatable in my opinion of McMahon's knowledge of X and O basketball, right? In the same sense, Matt McMahon now at LSU could use a guy like Will Wade who can get out and sell the program and has a big personality that people can latch on to that really want to support. McMahon doesn't have that in his skill set. Whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, that's just the way that it is, right? The guy is a basketball fanatic in the sense of he just wants to be in the gym. He wants to be in the film room. He wants to be in his huddle. He wants to be around his team. He wants to be sketching up plays. But in the lifeline of LSU basketball as it exists right now, it needs someone who can infuse a lot of life into it, a ton of energy, that can recruit at a very high level and then get out into the community and really sell that so people can really believe. But there's no real hope, I think, from the fan base's standpoint, and I would even say to some of the internal administrators who are, really directed of marketing the program, building the program, that really believe that, hey, that's just not McMahon's skill set. That's not who he is. LSU should have known that when they hired him, if that was what it was going to be, that was not going to be who they hired. And maybe they tried to go polar opposite of that, because that's who Wade was, and they just wanted somebody who was going to coach the game. If so, home run hire. But as it's built and constructed right now it needs some life, some energy, some real reconstruction to it that's going to take a lot more than X and O's. Because to make those X and O's work, you got to go get Jimmy and Joe. And right now, there's real no sign that those guys are coming, that are on the horizon, that there's help on the way, that there's new life in the program that's going to show up. And now with Wade landing at McNeese, sure, it's a different level of recruit, but you're out of your mind if Wade's going to envision it like that. He's not going to get Naz Reid out of the Northeast to bring him down to Lake Charles. But anybody who can play within this region is hands-on. And Wade's going to have a personality in these relationships built in already to the state of Louisiana that's going to give him an advantage. I mean, really, he's got he was here 5 years, McMahon and his staff a year. He's got really a 4-year advantage of building relationships in the state. And as we've discussed with him on the podcast many a times and directly, I mean, his relationships in recruiting is he's not let those slip. I mean, he's mentioned, I still talk to guys all the time. I still have relationships with coaches. I still talk to high school coaches, still talk to, handlers, still talk to recruits. Still talk to players on current rosters. So, look, I think that Matt McMahon can handle and it is the guy for the LSU job. His job just got a little tougher today. Is what I'm saying. And as far as McNeese goes, that's as good as you can do, man. that's as strong as a hire as McNeese basketball can make. I don't know what the feeling on Wade there is. I think, and look, this has not been discussed, but I think the best case scenario for everybody involved here, I think Wade's trying to get back to a bigger league, a bigger, competition level in college basketball, is to go to McNeese and within a 2-year window make it highly competitive, make it a program that attracts top talent and that develops and, continues to do what he was doing at LSU, put guys into the league. And doing that with a lot of support and, a brand new arena. I couldn't believe the pictures that I was seeing on social media yesterday of the arena that McNeese just opened up. I mean, that's a commitment. I mean, that's a commitment to winning. That's a commitment that says we want to win. I mean, Stewie, bring that picture up. I had no idea that McNeese's basketball facilities, I mean, I was calling state championships down at Burton Coliseum for a long time, and I mean, it felt very high schoolish, right? I mean, it felt like a high school facility. The facilities that I saw yesterday on social media as Wade was walking around the arena, I mean, I had no idea that this is what McNeese basketball had looked like. But, I mean, it's a commitment to winning, and I know that Wade is really excited. He's going to come on with us tomorrow. There's a press conference today down in Lake Charles, so that's going to be the first time that he's going to meet with the press down there. And, I mean, it's really nice, man.
You got suites.
Got coaches' offices in there. So, I mean, in a perfect world, right? I mean, if you're McNeese, I think the rest of the college basketball world wants to know, what's the deal with Will Wade? They know he can coach. They know he can recruit. They know he can do all that stuff. Is he going to be in trouble or not? And at some point, the NCAA is going to have to say whether or not Wade's going to be in trouble. McNeese has just said, look, whatever the penalty is, we'll bite it off. We'll chew it. It's all good. We'll take the PR in the meantime. We'll take building the program and the attention until you guys make a decision. We're going to take him as the coach. Bigger schools were like, look, find out what's going on, and then once we know, we'll be in touch. Until then, if you continue to be who you were at LSU, where you get players and you win basketball games, it's only a matter of time before you're back at the top level of the sport. And if you're McNeese, you just say, hey, let's ride the wave. So, incredible hire by McNeese, and good for them. Like we said, there'll be a press conference today officially announcing Wade, and I'm sure he'll have all types of questions that'll be thrown at him, and it'll be interesting to see how those are handled. But LSU baseball over the weekend, as we said, steamrolled, 13-1 yesterday. I mean, have they played a 9-inning game yet? I mean, they 10-run rule everybody. Yesterday it was Kling Kong was 3 for 5 as he scored 3 times. He knocked in 3 runs. He had a home run in the 7th that was the deciding factor of putting the game away and over that 10-run mark that's needed to call it. 13-1, as we said. Yesterday was the final. Before LSU takes off and goes to College Station, which will happen this weekend, they will take on UNO. And UNO was in one of the wildest stories I have seen in a while in college sports over the weekend. Did you see this?
Didn't they score like 30 points?
No, did you see? No, this isn't the baseball team. This is the umpire.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this clown, man, I've never seen anything like this bad at that level. I've seen it on, I've seen it elementary. I've seen it like at the junior high level where, official will make calls because he's allowed it to get personal, right? Like, I've seen it many a times, man. Like a lot of times you can see, officials that just, they can't take the criticism, they can't take the back and forth, and they'll blow the whistle or make the call that's just, you got to him personally, you got to her personally, and she's going to make a call, he's going to make a call one way or the other. But on the college level, what happened in the UNO Mississippi Valley State game over the weekend was one of the most just egregious acts that I've seen around sports at that level in a long time. If you have not seen this, you have you've obviously given up social media, or you're just not paying attention to the sports news of the weekend. But there was an umpire that was calling the Mississippi Valley State UNO game, and he calls two pitches that are, like the catcher nearly has to move his frame. The catcher for UNO can't even believe how bad the calls are. But the umpire rings up the Mississippi Valley State hitter and just begins to walk into the dugout. Like he had his mind made up that he was calling the game off. And the Mississippi Valley State hitter kind of jumps in just disbelief, takes his helmet off, and following him almost just kind of down the line as he walks off. But it was one of the just wildest scenes that it was. Rarely do you see things cross over that obviously in sports. Look, I'm not naive enough to think that stuff doesn't leak over time to time where, that there's that Chris Paul record versus that one official in the NBA. There's all types of things that you can dig up that say, look, one person has it out for another in certain circumstances. But what that situation looked like on, just kind of over the weekend in and around that UNO game was nuts. But that'll be LSU's next opponent. They play them, I believe, tomorrow night at the box before taking off to College Station. And this is it, man. Dougie can't join us tomorrow today. Hopefully we'll get him tomorrow. But we'll talk to him about just kind of the what's on the line of, just LSU heading over to Texas A&M and, some of the early season vibes of this team. I was talking to some of my buddies yesterday who were at the game on Saturday, and, really, and look, we've mentioned it here. My fan prime, was, kind of as, a mid-aged teenager into about 25, 26, right? So that was kind of right in the middle of Skip's run in baseball. And we were talking to Doug Thompson last week, and Doug was the ace on the 97 team. He was a part of the 96 team, and then he was the ace again on the 98 team. Or he might have been the ace on the 98 team, and Coogan was I don't want to get mixed up. Doug was the ace in the mid-90s. And, the obviously the golden age of LSU baseball is probably 86, the first time Skip went to Omaha until about, 09. But even 99-ish, 98-ish, 01, I guess you would say because of the last championship, or 2000. And even kind of the golden age within the golden age is, kind of 96, 97, 98, even into that 2000 team with Terrio and that crew. But the reason why they felt almost indestructible at that time was because they knew they were better than you. Physically, they had this imposing style that they were intimidating as soon as they took the field. On the mound, they were intimidating. It was a different feel. It was a different time, obviously. I'm not comparing really the times because it's just, it's almost a completely different game now than when it was then. But the fear factor that LSU would bring with them. And a lot of it was the brand. A lot of it was the hat. A lot of it was the letters on the chest. But the teams that were filling out those uniforms were a little bit different than the rest of them. You know, I mean, it was just, they were physically so imposing. I mean, they more looked like a football team. I mean, they more looked like a just Major League Baseball team. And LSU, through the first part, I don't want to overreact. And as Doug really, said very, eloquently last week, that, I mean, look, this is fantastic. This is as good as they can perform. They're playing at a very high level, but you'll find out in a week if it's all for real or not. And you won't find out all of the questions this week, but you'll find out just from a competitive standpoint, when it clicks up a couple of notches, what happens? You know, what happens when the spotlight gets a little brighter, when the situations get a little tighter, when the moments get a little bigger, right? I mean, that's ultimately what's happening this weekend. And as you sit here on Monday of that in game week, you think, well, I mean, they're built for it. They're made for it. They're ready for it. I mean, everything that you've seen leads you to believe that what would stop this team at this point, other than themselves, other than them, not staying healthy or just some massive breakdown. But I mean, the way that, Cruz is seeing it at a different level. We were talking to Jordan Faircloth came through here on Friday, and Faircloth's running for district court judge again, and he was doing a little bit of promotion. We were talking, obviously, baseball because of his background. He played LSU baseball. He was a reliever and a closer when he was on staff and on the team. And he was just talking about this team in seeing them through the first. And it's tough not to overreact. And, everybody has to give the qualifier of watching them through the first, 13, 14 games of the season of, look, I know it's early, or, look, I know that they hadn't gotten into conference play, or, look, I know that they're still working some things out. I mean, it's all these, like, pre-qualifiers of, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but how could they look any better? I mean, how could they perform any more impressive than they really have up to this point? Will that win the national championship? It will not. Will that win the SEC? It won't. Will it make them and guarantee them a top 8 seed? It's not going to do that. But at this point of the season, if you're running through a checklist, the number one team in the country in every single poll checks nearly every single box. I mean, they are fun to watch. As I said, the way that Cruz is seeing it, I mean, Tommy Tanks is now starting to turn on it as he hit a grand slam over the weekend. I mean, the Paxton Kling guy. I mean, I'm sorry, my bad, Kling, last week. I know he's been making plays since fall ball, but I mean, he's seeing it as good as anybody right now. I mean, that ball he turned on yesterday in the 7th was a bomb. I just, they're so fun to watch, man. I mean, it's that Tennessee series at the end of the month. I mean, it feels like the Yankees and the Red Sox. I mean, we were at a family dinner yesterday, or a family lunch yesterday. And, I mean, just kind of the side conversations that happened after dinner. I mean, nearly all of them were trending towards that series of Tennessee coming into town at the end of March and going into April. I mean, just on how electric that is going to feel, that is going to be, that is setting up to really offer. I mean, the tickets are crazy with some of the numbers and some of the people are talking about of what they're paying for them. So, look, I know that this isn't, the breakdown of how people are performing and every at bat and, the defensive percentage and all of that. But, I mean, just the feel of this team when you watch them play, it does bring back some feels of the old times. I mean, you know, and I hate to be that guy of, you know, back in my day, but I mean, this does have a feel of just like you show up with, you know, all these dudes that get off the bus that are just bigger, stronger, and faster than everybody, and then the game starts and they just pummel you. I mean, they just absolutely beat your brains in. I mean, whether it's the pitching, the fielding, the hitting, the defensive play behind the plate. I mean, it just seems like they are really, really good, man. You know, I mean, it's just it's fun to have that feel around the baseball program. And shout out to Jay Johnson, really. I mean, I think that, you know, for what Jay Johnson said he was going to do. Oh, well, he's doing it in a different era. Hey, he's playing on the same playing field that everybody else is. You know, and this is what LSU baseball is supposed to feel like, right? I think that there's a certain arrogance to LSU baseball, a lot like what travels with Kentucky football and Kentucky basketball and Alabama football, right? I mean, there's a certain arrogance to those programs. There's a certain feel to that fan base. There's a certain entitlement to those organizations that they expect to win. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time. The programs have been built for that, and when they pull in, they expect that. LSU baseball has the same feel, like that has the same cachet to it from a historical reference. For about a 15 to 20 year period, LSU baseball would show up and expect to kick your teeth in. I mean, that's what it was. And this team feels like through the non-conference portion of the schedule, which, you know, up until this point only means that you're 13-1. I mean, that's, you know, just really kind of what you take away from it. That, I mean, they could steamroll people. I mean, like, Skeens he sits people down. I mean, I think Cruz is hitting over 500. And that's the thing about Cruz. And going back to the Faircloth story, Faircloth was through here, and we were just talking about, you know, like, I mean, what do you think about this team, Jordan? I mean, you played baseball at LSU. What do you think? He's like, you know, I mean, coach, I mean, where would I start?
You got some stats in the doc for you. Some insane stats.
Read them. Give them to me.
Through 50 at-bats, Dylan Cruz has slashed 500, 627, and 860. He's getting on base 62.7% of the time, and 40% of his fly balls are home runs. Wow.
Read the first stat again.
He has 50 at-bats. Through those 50 at-bats, he's slashing 500, on-base percent. Is that on-base percentage? 627, and then 860.
I'm sure that's like slugging on base.
Slugging,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know all that baseball stuff, but I know that those are high numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they all sound good. It's just, but like Faircloth was saying, and I agree. I mean, we've seen certain athletes come through here where they perform at such a high level that it becomes expected of them when they do it that you don't really celebrate it, right? I think Burrow probably experienced that. You know, where, I mean, it was almost an expectation when he got off the bus, you knew he was going for 303 touchdowns. I mean, it wasn't a matter of if, it was going to happen. I mean, like, it was, that was going to happen. Cruz now has that feel to him when he shows up. He's just going to be the best player in the park. And in a sport like baseball where, you know, look, I know that this is, it's not my expertise, but I do know from a standpoint of the consistency part of it is really, you know, that's the difficulty. You know, the players that can handle the consistency, the day in, day out level of play that, you know, that can keep you around in that sport, that's what they're looking for, is, you know, that's the hard part to accomplish. Cruz, you know, at this level has just mastered it where he makes it look very, very easy, and he just is playing so far out in front of everybody that we've come to expect it, and we almost don't celebrate it enough. I know that I don't want to say that anybody is taking it for granted and disrespecting it, because I think we've seen enough players come through here that have played that level where you knew he was a pro, that you want to snapshot every at bat and every play that he makes. But I mean, Cruz just has this feel to him where when he's playing, it's really it's a chase for second place out there. He's so far out in front of me. He's so far more gifted than anybody out there. And I would say that the second best player to him physically that I've seen would only be Paul Skeens. I mean, really. I mean, I haven't paid a lot of attention to baseball around the conference. I mean, I'm anxious to see Tennessee and, obviously, what is it, Dollard, their ace, who's kind of like in the discussion of being, up there with Skeens. No way that guy's as physically imposing and as gifted as Skeens
Tennessee
is.
had a bunch of nerds on the mound last year, like kids wearing glasses.
I mean, Skeens looks and feels like a Cy Young Award winner out there. I mean, like, he is.
I mean, he's striking people out and telling them to go sit down.
He's the most. I'm trying to think. Like, Aaron Nola was not that intimidating from the standpoint of just like his presence. I think Nola was probably more intimidating because he wasn't intimidating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he was like, what is it with this guy? He just stands up there like sweating his ass off. His stuff's like kind of like all like awkwardly untucked. He kind of looks.
One sleeve's longer than
the
other.
I mean, he's just mowing people down. I mean, Gaussman wasn't, like that real intimidating type of ace where he would like stare you down. I guess it would be.
I'd go Alex Lang.
No, I guess Zach Hess.
Hess too, but Lang was like that. Like, he'd just get on the mound and just kind of get in his zone, just start striking people out. Then he starts talking, and it's like, oh, he's serious.
Daniel Greer, Jordy clearly hasn't watched Florida play. Cruz is a beast, but they have two dudes that are pushing him. No, I haven't.
No, Florida has a freshman that has 15 home runs.
Wow.
And he pitches too.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Kids are stuck.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, look, I'm not discounting that there are players around college baseball. I'm just saying that the one that LSU has is incredible. I mean, Dylan Cruz is I'll stick with Cruz.
Same.
I mean, that guy, he's just seeing it at a different level. The way he sees the ball up there. I mean, it just feels different. It just looks different, feels different. Remember Katie's Restaurant down in New Orleans, our friends over at Katie's, some of our favorites, man, our favorite. They're great menu selection down in Katie's if you want to stop in and see them, a neighborhood restaurant for the entire city located down on Iberville Street. They're located at 3701. If you want to try that St. Louis-style pizza or the cold mugs and the cold beers, get over and check out katiesinmidcity.com. katiesinmidcity.com is where you can find them. And stop in and see them on Iberville Street. 3701 Iberville Street is where you can find them. It's a taste of the city. It's a feel of the city. You'll stop in. You'll see a lot of names, a lot of faces, a lot of people who are familiar with one another. Tell Scott Craig that you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll be back. More Driven and Powered by Go Chevrolet live here on this Monday. Make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button. We'll get back to some more of the phone lines. Some more of the football storylines of spring football. As we watched last week, we mentioned that story after Brian Kelly had mentioned it in his opening day press conference after the on-the-field workouts of Marlon Martinez and what he's meaning to the offensive line and really what LSU is stressing with him as far as trying to keep him in the program and keep him away from the transfer portal once it reopens after spring practice. That Martinez storyline is one that we'll have to continue to watch because with Charles Turner being out of spring and he'll miss, Turner will hear spring. Marlon Martinez has got a real opportunity. He's got a true chance here to really take a step and put himself in a position to be the starting center on LSU squad next season on an offensive line that really is an area of strength. I mean, it's the greatest example that I think that we can point to of Brian Kelly's direction, of the change in the program under his leadership, is the stability that has been placed on the offensive line. Now, generational players like Emory Jones and Will Campbell, they help out tremendously. But from Kelly's standpoint, when they come through, you got to get them. And he was able to hang on to them after they were committed. Campbell was committed to the prior staff. Jones committed to Kelly and his staff, but was able to pull him in, put him on the field, and really get him and continue to keep him at a high level of playing. As a very young group, and now in year 2 with those guys, and obviously Miles Frazier coming back for another season, and getting guys like Garrett Dellinger healthy and getting him shuffled back into the lineup, and then restocking with guys like Lance Hurd, who's a 5-star offensive lineman out of Neville, and Tyree Adams, who's coming in from St. Aug, who's an absolute mountain of a dude that they can build into a tackle down the line, to even guys out of state that they're really excited about, like DJ Chester, who's coming in from the state of Georgia, and Paul Mobenga, who's a prospect that they're really excited about, who's very raw. That offensive line to me is the greatest example of Brian Kelly and being committed to the difference of what LSU is now. It really does. I think that where the expectation lies with LSU this season to be, very much contenders in year 2 under Kelly. I think a lot of people look at that offensive line play and say, wow, I mean, if you can get the skill play that you have at LSU every single year, it was crazy to look up and see Kayshawn running 4.5 and see Jeray Jenkins running 4.6 and still seeing the production that they were getting on offense like they were, right? But I think, year 2 of Mason Taylor, year 3 of Brian Thomas, year 1 of Aaron Anderson, who, was someone who Brian Kelly obviously paid attention to in high school and really wants to reinvigorate that guy at LSU, can be a really exciting case for LSU offensively. So we'll talk some about that here in the hour, in the second hour. Make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. We'll also talk about the field for the NCAA tournament. The number 1 seeds were announced. Alabama is the 1 seed. How do you feel about the Tide heading in to tourney time, as it is? Look, they've been dealing with some adversity, man. They have also been winning and staying, on the floor, dialed in. So how do we feel about Bama going on here? Have you filled out your bracket yet? Who is your Final Four? Get inside of the chat if you want to leave that Final Four for us. And we'll react to them. It looks like a lot of chalk for me, man. It really does. I got to be honest. But we'll talk more about it. We'll be back with more of the show here, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
Hey, Baton Rouge, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, whether you need to fill up your vehicle or your belly, stop by Go-Mart and On The Go Deli. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you might need on your trip. So stop by Go-Mart at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left, and visit Tom and Wright Granning and their awesome team at Go-Mart.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us.
Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Don't let the name fool you. Men's Total Health has offerings for the ladies, too. Guys, is your wife or partner suffering from urinary incontinence, low sexual desire, or pain during sex? Then the O-Shot might be for her. Don't let it scare you. It's totally natural. It's PRP. And Mike Roach and the crew at Men's Total Health will make you as comfortable as you can be. Contact me for more information, Katie at JordyCulottaShow.com, and I'm happy to tell you everything that Men's Total Health has to offer for the ladies.
Fourier Insurance Agency, established in 1946, locally can help you with any of your home, auto, commercial, contractors, life and health insurance today. Give them a call, 225-383-0682, or log online to FourierAgency.com. All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet on this Monday morning. Shout out to some state champion winners over the weekend, specifically Port Allen High School, who won the Division III non-select, in Catholic High School right here in Baton Rouge, who won the Division I select state championship. That is the first state title in Catholic High's
I can't
basketball
believe that.
history.
David told me that yesterday, and I was like,
When
"There's no
I
way."
heard that yesterday, I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" I mean, like they've been in
How?
business for over 120 years, right?
How
like,
is that possible? And they're good.
I mean, that
They're
is
always
like
good.
some.
Look, it's tough. Basketball is different.
It is different,
It ain't
Stewie.
football.
But 120 years, you got to fall ass backwards into something. I mean, who's coaching that team? Dede Bro?
But who are they normally playing that's so much better than them every year?
I mean, it's
is it
5A.
like is Lafayette
It is
Christian
5.
in the
I mean, it is
same-
the highest division.
Okay.
I will say
Scotland
this,
Hills
and
win
shout
it
out to
every
Derek
year.
Jones. Derek Jones is a former Catholic High player, and he is he's the head coach now. Which his son is a starter on the Bears and is a player, is a great young player, and they got a really good young roster for Catholic High, including my guy Broussard from St. George. His dad, Dr. Broussard, is a cool friend and a great friend. That's got to be cool, man, to be a part of the first state championship
I know, right?
at Catholic High School. But when I heard that, I thought, that is unreal.
I couldn't believe that either.
That's almost hard to accomplish.
Yeah, that didn't make sense.
To be in business that long, to have a sport that long, and just like not accidentally win one.
Right.
I mean, where everybody else is down.
Yeah.
But I would say this: I say that Derek Jones was probably on the best Catholic High team before yesterday's winner, before Saturday's winning state title team.
Oh, really?
Jones as a player was a stud of a player. I want to say like they got beat in the state title game, like by a tip-in, like we were at the state championship game. I remember being there as a kid, watching Derek Jones and Jonathan Pixley.
Yeah.
Is a part of Match Point.
Yeah.
Was on that team as well.
Okay.
And Pixley, for a while, man, was one of the top players to come out of the city in a long time. He's still to this day is probably the best pickup basketball player in town.
Really?
Oh my God.
Does he do like ancient athletes, I guess?
No, he's so much better than ancient athletes. I mean, like he's on a whole other level. Like, I mean, a lot of these guys that are pros that are from Baton Rouge will come back and train with Pixley in the offseason.
Okay.
Like, you go
Wow.
in there
I
see like
didn't know that
Skylar
about him.
Mays, and I mean Pixley was a bucket.
Okay.
I mean, like automatic. His college coach, John Brady.
Really?
At Samford.
Aww.
And I would say this: if Pixley doesn't blow his knee out, and he had like a pretty
that's what
bad
happened?
knee
Okay.
injury. And this was kind of back in the day when you had a knee injury, it would set you back tremendously.
Yeah.
I don't know if he wouldn't have gotten a shot. I mean, like he was
It
such
sounds like it.
a good. He used to come into we were kids and would go into the Spectrum on Perkins Road, across from Kenilworth neighborhood, across from the Red Storm Gym.
Yeah.
We would go in there as high schoolers, as total shitheads. You know what I mean? Just like we wanted to go look at the girls.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that was you could get an overhead view of who was like walking by.
I can just see this happening.
You could get like the glass view of
Which
who
way to
was
the weight
walking
room?
by. Right, absolutely. So
Where are the women
at? Pick up basketball. Me, Brandon Bourgeois, Jesse McCormick, all of us we'd go to the Spectrum on Perkins and just like run it.
Yeah.
We were like nobody was. We were just like playing these old men. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It was like running around them. You know what I mean? Like Jesse and Bourgeois were like dunking on these guys. I mean, it was like just like unfair. And like one day, Jonathan Pixley came in there, and he had like two guys that could run with him. By no means were they as good as he was, but like they knew how to play with him.
Yeah.
And they abused us.
Yeah.
Like they beat us by 20. We didn't score a point. Elbowing us, backing us down, telling us what they were going to do to
Hell
us.
yeah.
And like putting it in our face. And like the chicks that we were chasing were like standing up top like, scrubs.
Oh my God.
Scrubs.
They're like, "Aw."
Who are these old men killing y'all? You know what I mean? It was Pixley beat the ever-living hell out of us.
They told you.
Yes.
That's
and
awesome.
still to this day, I guarantee you he could get 30 or 40 in
Yeah,
a
I'm
pickup
sure.
game.
We have another listener who's the assistant coach on Catholic's basketball team. I'm going to mess up his last name, I think. It's Ben Relly, Relle.
Uh-huh.
He's the assistant coach for Catholic's team, too. So he was posting about winning the championship, too. So shout out, Ben.
Yeah, no. I know that there's a lot of Catholic High faithful here, and that had to be a great moment for the program. It had to be a great moment for everyone. And I think that Derek Jones, who's the head coach now, I think he came from Port Allen.
Oh, really?
If I'm not mistaken. So shout out to the Pelicans who've kept it going with Coach Jones now at Catholic High. They've kept up the winning standard as they take home a state title as well over the weekend. So that's cool. Katie, good morning. Good to see you. Good to see you. How are you? How are you?
Good. I'm good.
What was this weekend
made it
like?
Into the tournament, so I'm excited about that.
What's
going
that?
to the dance. My Bulldogs have made it into the tournament, so we going tomorrow.
That was surprising, right?
Was it?
A little bit. A little bit. I think
I
it was
wasn't
surprising.
surprised.
How about SEC getting 8 teams in?
Yep, and so did another conference got 8 teams in too, though.
I believe it was the Big Ten.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, the Big Ten.
Yeah.
ACC
exciting.
snubbed. Clemson left out. I would say this about Texas A&M as the 7th seed. I would look at them, and without the SEC bias, I would say that was the one that doesn't make the most sense. I mean, the fact that Missouri on the byline is a higher seed than A&M after A&M beat them in the regular season, beat them in the tournament, made it to the tournament finals, and finished with a better record. What were you looking at? You know what I mean? Like, what was the criteria? If they've done that and they've done this, how is that team higher?
Right.
But at this point,
It's
you're
hard
in.
to understand.
Right? You're in. You're a 7 seed, and you got a chance here. And it does set up a second round tilt with Texas if they can get there. Both of them, if they can get there. Which from, I think, the NCAA standpoint, and if you're the selection committee, we have to remember this is a television show. You know what I mean? There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of feeling within these fan bases, within people that are being pulled. I think we feel it here for the LSU women. A 3 seed, like, get the hell out of here.
Right.
Who thought of that? What was the criteria on that? What point does LSU look like a 3 seed when they've only lost 2 games this whole year?
No, it's so bizarre to me how
And they didn't
this
even
all
lose their
works.
first one until 23 into it.
And Hawaii, isn't that who they're playing first?
Right. And I don't mind that. I mean, the seeding, who they play, but I mean their own number. I mean, a 3 seed, get the hell out of here. But it's at the end of the day, it's a television show.
Right.
And they want ratings. And I'm sure somebody in there said, we could get Texas A&M and Texas in the second round if we do this right. We're going to have to screw A&M for it. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, they're not that good in basketball anyway. They'll be happy to get in. I mean, some of those discussions behind closed doors are happening. That's how that stuff works. But for the most part, I really do kind of like the chalk. If I'm Kansas, though, to me, 2 weeks ago, Kansas felt like the top team.
Yeah. You don't still feel like they are?
I mean, their coach just had a heart attack.
Yeah.
And they just got beat by 20 in the semifinals.
Yeah.
By Texas. Also, if I'm Houston, at this point in the season,
They got injuries, right?
I want to be playing my best, and my leading scorer just left the game with a groin injury.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's tough.
It's these stories where you may have been the best team all season.
It changes in the tournament, though.
But
what about
basketball
Arizona?
is such a sport that can change so quickly underneath you.
Well, yeah.
That-
Look at my own team, Episcopal girls. Like, I remember in the beginning of the season, I was telling you, like, we're terrible.
Yeah.
It's over. We're not going
right.
anywhere.
Exactly.
And then look, it's crazy. I think
Ooh,
Arizona, though.
You just said that live on air.
I did.
Those girls are going to take that personally.
No,
Good.
they knew it
Some
too. They were
motivation.
like, we're not going to any kind of playoffs. Like in the beginning of the season, we were all down. We were like, well, this will be a short season.
Wow.
Things change,
They made it to state.
Yeah, I mean, they really do. I think things are going to change, though. I think somebody's got to take Alabama down. Maybe. I think it could be Arizona that does it.
Maybe.
If anybody's going to do it.
Maybe. I mean, there's a couple of matchups here that look very, intriguing, obviously, in the tournament. Alabama, I know this. Alabama is fastly become the most hated team in college sports very quickly. You thought there was hate behind their football team. This basketball team is traveling with I mean, like, they got some poison with him, man. And here's the deal about Bama is that they are embracing it.
They really are.
Like, they are accepting it. They want it. And I kind of thought that they would be tripped up because of the stuff that's been happening on the floor, or excuse me, off the floor. But they have not. And they won the SEC title yesterday. They also were able to grab the number 1 seed in the entire tournament and set themselves up with a pretty nice path to the Final Four. They'll have to go through Duke to get there. And you're legitimately looking at a game, and I'm serious when I say this, where public sentiment could be with Duke if that game happens. I mean, think about that. Think about how much people hate Duke basketball. A lot like people hate Alabama football.
Yeah.
A lot like you hate Kentucky basketball. A lot like people hate LSU baseball. If Alabama basketball tips it off, I believe it's the Elite Eight where they would meet up.
Yeah.
If they tip that game off, like, there'd probably be more people in publicly that are pulling for Duke than Bama.
Is it just the drama? Is it just the Brandon Miller drama? Do you think that?
Yeah, and I think it's the way that they've handled it.
I guess so, but
It's been like the way that they've not run from it.
I know, but I went back and just read again because I know we've all been very opinionated on this whole situation. I went back this weekend and kind of looked over like everything that's happened, like, because I'm watching this kid play and I'm like, he is unfazed. Like, think about like playing through that kind of stuff. And I guess he did his first interview this weekend and he said, I hear all the noise, like I hear all the booing and everything. Imagine playing through that. But I went back and kind of read, and like, I'm not making excuses for him at all, but he's not charged with anything yet. There's no evidence of anything. I mean, apparently he took the bag with the gun in it to the other guy. Like, that was all that happened.
Yeah, no, it's just it's a terrible story.
It's a terrible story, but like, he really not being charged with anything. Like, what do you do about that? Do you bench him? I mean, you can't, right?
Well, not now.
Right, not now. No,
yeah, you can't now.
Couldn't have then either.
I mean, that's what happened with. I think that's the pushback on this.
Yeah,
is that Nate Oates, when people found out that Alabama knew about it,
that's exactly
I think people
right.
were saying, dude, why didn't you sit him? Like, the next game was Vanderbilt.
Right.
Like, after that game. Like, why didn't you just sit him? Like, even if you were like, well, hey, why'd Brandon Miller sit tonight? You're like, hey, it was an internal decision. We're handling something internally, and that's the last comment I'm going to make on it. Next question.
Right.
And when they say, when the police report comes out a month later, and they're like, well, why don't you bench Brandon Miller? You're like, well, that's what we did a month ago when I wasn't ready to talk about it. Now we can.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
But now we're the number 1 overall seed in the tournament, and he ain't coming out of the game.
I know.
I mean, like, so they've missed the opportunity to internally take care of it.
Right.
And I think publicly, that's the fallout. That's the pushback.
Totally.
I don't think that people are claiming that Brandon Miller is a murderer. You know what I mean?
Right. Some people are.
No, I mean, there are fan bases that want to claim that to get in his head on the road. Right? But I mean, when the facts of the story come out and you read the police report, you kind of get an idea of the sides, you realize that if he didn't know what he was doing, he was not accomplishing a part of this, he was just really in a bad spot,
right.
In a terrible, terrible spot. But I mean, there has to be some internal language within the basketball program or the athletic department that says, if you are in a felonious investigation, there has to, you got to miss a game. I mean, like, or until the facts come out, there's going to be this repercussion.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a mark on Alabama's athletic department.
Where's their PR?
Than it is exactly
in all this.
Exactly.
Like, just like you said.
But that's how fast this stuff can happen, man.
I know.
I mean, I'm telling you, LSU probably learned more in their disastrous public relations than you do when winning the national championship in 2019.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, man, this came out of nowhere. These are things that were taken on that we had no idea that we're going to have to deal with. That's why I believe as important as the coaches that you hire is the personnel that is handling your marketing and public relations. I mean, it is such a key component of what you do, because of if something were to break down, odds are you don't have the right people in place to handle disasters. I mean, just our personalities tell us that if you're with somebody and a catastrophe happens, if you're with 4 people, 3 of them are probably going to run, right? Like, I mean, there's only going to be like one person standing there like, oh shit, I got to figure this out. Right? I mean, like, rather than learning that when, you know, the mountain is crumbling on top of you, you'd like to figure that out in a situation where we know we can handle this. And that's why, you know, LSU is a great case study under Joe Oliva, F. King Alexander, and Les Miles of what bad public relations can really do to the perception of the organization.
Well, this is a new case study then.
And now Alabama basketball has elbowed Oliva and those dumbasses out of the way and said, let us one-up you.
But just with like 2 little tiny mistakes almost, just like you said, Nate Oates could have just said something, benched him one game, just acknowledged it empathetically and moved on, and then the whole pat down thing could have been like, somebody could have stepped up and been like, hey, don't do that. Don't do the pat down thing when you come out, right? Like, just little things like that. It's just kind of a shame, but regardless.
Or just, hey, coach, really don't ever say in public that you did not read the police report before taking the stand.
Right.
Even if you didn't, you know, Ed Ogeron, don't ever announce publicly that you did not interview a candidate for the defensive coordinator job.
Right.
Even if you didn't, don't say that to the public.
Right.
And don't tell them,
because that's going to be a soundbite that will live forever.
Yeah.
Like, once you say it, you're not going to be able to take that back.
Yeah.
And that will kill you.
Yeah.
Like, if Ogeron was like, I want to coach again, you know, you'd be like, okay, well, let's see if you can pass this interview here. What happened with the Bo Pelini thing on hiring him and then publicly claiming that you did not interview him? You know, like, get out of that one for me real quick before I give you this $1 million contract and this job security here. What happened?
Right.
You know, like, how did that happen? I mean, that's stuff that if you're at that level, you would assume that, hey, like, you're the LSU head football coach. You would understand how to handle a question like that, right? You would think. You're Alabama's head basketball coach. If they ask you if you knew about the police report, even if you didn't, you've got to be smart enough in the moment to think on your feet and say, I didn't react like I wanted to.
Yeah.
But now we're in this situation, and we're going to handle it internally. We appreciate your concern for it, but it's no comment from here on out.
But again, where is his Michael Bonnet, who was in the background saying, hey, this is what they're going to ask you. You need to be prepared to answer the question.
He's feathering Saban's balls somewhere and can't break away to deal with the basketball program.
Clearly.
Is exactly what's happening.
Clearly.
Saban saying, while Nate and his program melt, I still got to worry about this 5-star recruit getting in town this weekend.
Still got to keep my balls.
So public relations, park your ass right here. That's just how that works.
Crazy.
Get under the desk.
That's it.
Grab that spray.
Yeah.
Nate will figure it out.
I mean, yeah.
Nate can thank me for their new arena they're building.
That's true.
I mean, that's, you know, Alabama baseball, remember. The reason why Alabama baseball got a new facility is because Jameis Winston told Alabama no. Jameis Winston said, Florida State's got a better baseball facility. I'm going to go over there. Saban said, say what? We just lost the number 1 player in the state because of our baseball stadium? Let me tell you what ain't never happening again. Build that guy a palace. I mean, like, that's how that's happening on that campus.
Yeah.
Is that football's a lot like what's happening on LSU's campus.
True.
I mean, you know, feed the beast.
Yeah.
If something falls behind, you know, either they got to keep up or they get run over.
But they have 3 beasts now. They got football, basketball, and baseball over there. That's tough.
Baseball team's all right.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, they ain't
they
played
undefeated?
nobody. 15-2, but they ain't played nobody.
Agreed. You could say the same about
You
LSU.
can say that about anybody
You can
right
say that
now,
about
though.
LSU.
Play Texas though.
I agree.
They don't have a game like Texas on this schedule.
Right.
I'm looking at Alabama's
My
baseball
dad
schedule.
checking in, who is a Catholic High basketball historian, a great point guard in his own right on the team of 79.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I believe an all-state performer. But Derek Jones and his team were 31-0 when Jones was a player. This is Jones and Pixley. and they were 31-0 before playing a team by the name of John Erath that they had already beat twice.
What is that?
That year. I think that's down in New Orleans. Where's Erath?
Erath is actually in
is that
New Iberia. New Iberia, Lafayette area.
Is it?
It's, yeah.
Okay.
337.
John Erath.
But
is it just Erath? The school's
Erath.
Erath. Yeah.
That's where Elijah Mitchell went.
Okay, that's right.
Oh, okay.
They played Erath in the semis and got knocked out on a tip-in.
Aww.
Against a team you had already beat twice.
That sucks.
Hard to beat somebody 3 times.
Basketball is the most brutal losses, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
Basketball is the most brutal way to lose.
Because it's like,
I mean, it's just
simple
like,
stuff.
We were right there.
I know, right there.
Oh my God. I mean, like, remember that Butler Duke national championship loss? The first one that Brad, the coach for the Celtics, why am I forgetting his name?
Brad Stevens.
Brad Stevens was the coach for Butler, and Gordon Hayward threw the half court, and it hit the backboard and rattled in the rim and bounced out, and they lost by 2. I mean, like, could you imagine?
Was it North Carolina and I forget who else it was, but like they went back and
Villanova.
forth. Yeah, with threes.
Oh, the Nova. That finish is the finest.
Was that Shabazz Napier?
I don't know that. I don't know if that was Shabazz, but that was the play where they run because North Carolina comes down, hits the shot, they get the ball in, and the guy that throws the ball in is trailing the play.
And he hands it to him.
And he runs like kind of like a handoff screen where he just steps into it and knocks down the natty. I mean, dude, it's turning time, man.
It is.
It's a beautiful time. I mean, I guess now so here's the deal. Does everybody kind of you sandwich work in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Because Thursday and Friday are like giveaway days. I mean, if you were like a corporate America working, like if somebody's monitoring your time,
right,
tracking your location,
I know,
GPS on your track, on your work truck, on your work phone.
I guess you bring an iPad to work or something and watch it like that, right?
Yeah,
like a
non-work
owned device. Yeah, that's how you do it, right?
I would think so.
I mean, because people. I mean, yeah, you have to. People are going to be doing that.
I think so.
I think Houston has the biggest chance, honestly.
Houston?
Yeah.
You like Houston
to win it?
In this one?
Yeah. I really do. I mean, Alabama. I really
lost to Memphis in the conference championship.
Is that Marcus Sasser, their top scorer? He's out.
Houston.
Yeah, I mean.
And they're getting Kansas too, and Bill Self's coming back for.
No heart attack going to hold Self down.
Right. No,
the selection committee did not do Self any favors. They're sending. I see. They are sending Houston to Kansas City as a 1 seed, and where's Kansas going through? Kansas
That's what I'm trying to find
is not going through. I think they may be going through.
Dang it.
But you can tell that, I mean, like, they're not doing the defending champs any favors, man.
Right. No, they're not.
Kansas is in the West region.
Yeah. Let me pull up my bracket here.
I'm trying to find it.
In the same bracket as UCLA, Gonzaga.
I still don't know
Arkansas.
if they can beat Bama. I just think they have a really good chance. I mean, y'all, Brandon Miller, honestly, like, everything else aside.
No, he's a baller.
He is unbelievable. Like, next LeBron type guy?
Easy.
Katie,
why not?
Easy.
Someone has to be.
Katie, he's not a generational player like that.
How do you know?
Because he's not. He's a freshman.
How do you know?
I don't know for sure, but why
so before we
couldn't
start
he
painting
be?
people as LeBron, let's know something first.
Katie, did LeBron go to college?
I mean, like,
that's not the point, though. This kid
LeBron was ready from day one. He could have played in the NBA at 16.
So this kid takes a different
and
path,
LeBron's
maybe.
an unfair comparison.
Yeah.
Okay, LeBron-ish.
an unfair
Well, who else
comparison.
could I compare? So, like, what?
I mean, he's just
Anthony
a good
Davis?
scorer.
But then, like, that, you know, how that went. But I guess he could be the next Anthony Davis, if that makes y'all feel better.
No, I mean, he's a hell of a player.
He's a hell of a player.
That's why that is why that's why all this stuff
cannot be
comes with
denied.
him. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Really, I mean, that's why you're paying so close attention is because you're like, damn, this cat's so good.
Right.
But
so North Carolina rejected the NIT invite, right?
Yeah. His NBA comparison is Paul George.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's about.
Love
He's
it.
a freshman,
Love
y'all.
it. Love it.
He's a freshman.
Yeah, basketball is a young man's game, though.
Yeah.
I mean, a 20-year-old in basketball has been there for 3 years.
But do you think he's going to stay?
No.
Okay.
He's going to the NBA.
No way. He'd be a top 2 pick.
Yeah,
top
he's a
3
lottery pick.
Yeah.
Can't stay in school for that.
Plus, I mean, look around. Like, Tuscaloosa's a small town, Brandon.
Well, I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
Words out.
lot of people, bro. I mean, you're in a small aquarium here. You're a big old fish, dude.
I'm out.
You know what I mean? Like, people aren't paying this much attention to you when you're playing for the Knicks.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But just a little breakdown here from the tournament selection side. ACC got 3 teams in: Miami, Virginia, and Duke. I will say this about Duke. Heads up. They're playing right at the right time, and they are a scary, scary matchup right now. I hope we see that Bama-Duke game in the Elite Eight. I think it'd be fantastic.
That would be.
Big East put another 4 teams in. Watch out for a Big East team in Marquette. Marquette's playing as good as anybody entering the tournament. Marquette, UConn, Xavier, and Creighton are the 4 teams in there. Big Ten put 6 teams into the dance in Indiana, Purdue, Michigan State, Iowa, Northwestern, and Penn State. And as we said, how about the SEC, man?
No dancing for Michigan this year? Juwan Howard?
Both Michigan and North Carolina turned down the NIT.
Oh.
That to me, that's a bad mark on those 2 programs.
I think that too.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if I'm North Carolina and I'm Hubert Davis, and you've got, a relatively young team that had some veterans on it that, look, wildly underperformed. I would say the same thing about Michigan. Both teams and programs had huge expectations, but more North Carolina for their coming off the national championship game last season, being so close to winning the Natty. Really? I mean, in Hubert Davis's first season, they were right there. I mean, they ended the career of Krzyzewski. I mean, Coach K played his last game against North Carolina. Not only did they end K's career, like, officially in the Final Four, they took his regular season last game in Cameron Indoor and beat the hell out of him. Remember Coach K had to, like, come back on the floor? Like, and they had, like, he was like, well, this is embarrassing. I mean, it's like, I can't wait to get back to the film. Remember, it's like, all right, dude, enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you did suck today, but I mean, and they don't make the turn. And you could tell early on they were going to struggle.
Had some issues in the locker room.
Had some issues going on in the locker room for sure.
Somebody's sleeping with somebody's
And
girlfriend.
it is tough to go from the assistant to the head coach in a role where you got to be the bad guy sometimes. And as the assistant coach, rarely are you ever the bad guy. There are some instances where assistant coaches have to be the bad guy on, like, specific players that they recruited. If there's, like, that one recruit that assistant coach brings in, especially in basketball. You know what I mean? Like, because you're only recruiting like 3 to 4 guys a year. So if there's one guy that an assistant, like, really zeroes in on, is able to, bring in to the program, if he's not, listening, if he's not, kind of walking the line, then, I mean, sometimes an assistant might be like, yo, bro, I mean, like, come on, man. It's both you and I's reputation on the line here. I need you to tighten up. But, I mean, 9 times out of 10, the head coach is usually going to be the buck. He's usually going to be the one that has to kind of, like, drop the hammer, right? That says, like, no, this is the deal. This is what we're going to do. And the assistant can kind of be like, yo, man, I mean, I can try my best to try to get you out of this, but this is the policy. When you go from, being good cop to being the bad cop, there is a little bit of, that's a tough process to navigate. That's a tough transition to handle, for some people. And, I've heard more people in the coaching industry talk about that transition and trying to master that and trying to find a way to really, navigate that than a lot of the other issues that seemingly coaches deal with. I mean, because it's everybody's aspiration as an assistant coach to become a head coach. Rarely do you find an assistant coach that says, I'm a lifer. I'm a guy that has okay with playing in the background, don't have to know my name, don't have to get all the perks and the benefits, but I'm in the profession because I love it. 97% of the trade is in it because they want to have their own program. They want their own gig. They want their own job. Now, a lot of them go get their own gig, realize that they're not cut out for it, and realize, hey, I'll be an assistant for the rest of my life. The life is good. The pay is awesome. The security is unmatched. I'll stick around and do this. Right? I mean, I love the guy, and he's one of my great friends, and I think he's as talented as a football coach as LSU's ever had, but I think Frank Wilson's probably tasted that. And Frank Wilson's broken away, went to Texas San Antonio, did a really good job of, starting that program pretty much, making it relevant, getting it players, taking it to bowls, putting out pros, Marcus Davenport, then taking on McNeese's job and doing the same, representing the state. But Wilson is a much more talented, and no disrespect to those jobs, but a much more talented coach as far as being able to affect the day in, day out ops of a program than handling it at that level. He's built to have those high-end recruiting conversations that, who's the top 10 players in the country? Here they are, Coach. Every single one of them is in play when you've got Frank Wilson. And there's only about a handful of people in the country that can have those conversations with those types of players. Recruit Leonard Fournette for 4 years. I mean, the type of recruiter you have to be on the trail of Leonard Fournette since he's a freshman in high school, to the people you got to keep away, to the people you got to let in, to the people you got to tell him that you're better than, and then win it. I mean, Frank Wilson's been away, been back, making almost $1 million a year. And really from a day in, day out operation standpoint, it has a lot of head coaching responsibility. And probably realizes, hey, if I don't get a major break in big time sports, this is a good spot for me. And for if Frank was to become the next head coach at LSU, which I'm not saying, I'm just giving you a scenario. Frank's he's the good guy for a lot of people. Frank is, from the time that they start recruiting, Frank knows your mom, your dad, your sisters, your brothers, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your whoever it is. Frank has a relationship with probably all of them. He at least has their number in the phone where he can share a text message or get them on the line real quick. And that's what really makes him great, right? Is like that he's that person. If you put him into the head coaching seat, he doesn't know all of the aunts and uncles anymore. He doesn't know the brothers and the sisters and the girlfriend and the childhood best friend that gives him such an advantage of what he does.
That's true. That's a really good point.
And for Hubert Davis was the lead recruiter for a lot of these guys as an assistant coach at North Carolina. When they showed up to North Carolina, he was the guy that got them in and out of whatever they needed to get in and out of. And was also the guy behind the scenes when Roy Williams would light him up that says, hey, man, keep your head up. You're going to be a really good player here. You're going to make a lot of money. We're going to make sure that you're competing. And I've been telling you this since day one. Believe in me because I believe in you. Coach, I got you. Now, if you're the head coach, you got to tell that guy, you either pick your head up or get the hell out.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough spot.
You know what I mean? Or we'll replace you with somebody that can do it. Mm-hmm. You're not the guy that, hey, come here.
Right.
I'm sure there is a part of that to the process, but there's also the part of the process that you have to tell the guy, you also don't fit here. Mm-hmm.
That's true.
And there's an assistant behind the background that's telling him, hey, man, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure you're doing okay. I'm going to make sure you're okay. And that's going to be his guy for life. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That he's always said, that guy had my back in college. He had my back when I was going through a bunch of shit in college, and I'm loyal to him. A lot of people, from a head coaching standpoint, they don't really have that relationship with the head coach.
Yeah.
Because the head coach has to keep it, he got to keep it moving. And if, Hubert Davis is feeling some heat about his job now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right? Somewhere internally, somebody's told him, like, yo, Hubert, this is not going to fly at North Carolina.
Right, because they're the first preseason ranked #1 team that hasn't made it to the tournament.
Right.
Since expansion, I think.
And there's a lot of people on that campus talking about that. There's a lot of people internally talking about that. So Hubert Davis is looking around, and he's even looking at his assistants, saying, now my life is on the line. What can you do for me?
Yeah.
What can you do for this program to make sure that we're going to stay relevant? Or can you recruit at a high level? Can you coach at a high level? Can you teach at a high level? You know, like that's how this stuff works where, you know, everybody's cool when you're playing for natties.
It's depressing.
You know,
now.
it's such
it's a really good way to describe it.
I mean,
I think
of somebody like Stacey Hollowell. This is the coaching profession. This is the coaching profession. Stacey Hollowell was a Division III coach at Loyola School in New Orleans last year, and they won the national championship, I believe, for the first time since like the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it had been forever since this program had won at this level. And for that, Hollowell and his program got a ton of attention. There's a lot of people that were paying attention to him. Well, he got hired by Kermit Davis at Ole Miss to become like the director of basketball operations, which from Hollowell's standpoint is an advancement in job, right? Like it's an elevation in job, elevation in pay, elevation in notoriety, gets him a step closer to running his own program at a Division I level. Well, he catches on at Ole Miss a year after winning Loyola and national championship. You know, 3 weeks ago, Kermit Davis gets fired. Yesterday, they make the internal decision that they're going to hire Chris Beard, former Texas coach. Beard lets everybody in the program know you're out of a job. Now a guy like Hollowell is a year out of being on the mountaintop, being at a high, and now back in the woods looking for work.
Oh, that sucks.
You know what I mean? Like that's when we talk about the coaching profession, when we criticize coaches, when we talk about, you know, what are they thinking when they're out there? And a lot of that stuff in the moment is probably well versed. You don't think about this part of it. You know what I mean? You really don't think about the instability of it because look, they get well paid. They live a life that a lot of us would look at and say, well, I mean, they can handle this criticism.
You're a millionaire. You're fine.
Right. I mean, you get and rarely do the good ones pay for anything. You know what I mean? Like the really high end coaches, I mean, have a car deal worked out. Usually there's some type of tuition management made with the university and whatever school the kids are going to. You know what I mean? Like all the insurances are all, I mean, rarely, you know, a couple of restaurateurs in town that support the university. Rarely are you paying for a lot of meals. I mean, they live a really cool, good, you know, luxurious to a point of a life. But then there's also things of the travel, being away from the family, the part of, hey, I may have jumped on with a guy that could be losing his job this year. You know what I mean? Like last year at this time, Hollowell's probably thinking, hey, Ole Miss has got a real good opportunity to make a run in the SEC. You know, maybe he'll be around for a couple of more years and he'll be able to elevate his career. Now, you know, you wake up on Monday after a year and not even a year, 7 or 8 months on the gig, and, you know, it's kind of back to square one.
God, you got the rug pulled out from under you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
what
it's just
life.
It's crazy, man. It's a crazy life.
Stressful.
RMB, remember Rhett Bourgeois, RMB Builders, Rhett Bourgeois, RMB builders.com. Instagram, you can find them there. Find them on Instagram. They got great projects going on RMB and through their commercial division and their residential division. They can help you out with either portion there this morning. Get in touch with Rhett. Tell him you heard it here on the Jordy Culotta Show, rmb-builders.com. We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll close it out here on this Monday. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button as we will be closing it out next here. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacey, Greg Brooks. Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team, make a difference. Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Will Muschamp's son, who is a big-time quarterback, committed to Vanderbilt over the weekend.
What a stud.
Really?
As he made it. And they're
I feel
anchored
like they're
down.
blowing in here inside the studio with the blower or
Thank
weed
you.
eater.
Yeah, we love it.
It's our friends over at A-Bears Lawn Service.
We love them.
Every Monday. Proof they do work.
They do.
All right, everybody enjoy this Monday. Katie, no bracket challenge. I saw somebody asking about a bracket challenge.
No, we didn't do a bracket challenge
we
this
didn't.
year. We didn't do a bracket challenge.
We will have our Final Four for you, and we'll let you know who our selections are as LSU will be hosting UNO this week before a trip to Texas A&M this weekend for baseball. More spring football as the Tigers will be out on the field, so we'll have some news and reports from you
I think
over
they might
there.
be off this week.
Is it spring break this
Spring
week?
break.
Oh, it is
I thought it
spring
was
break
next
this
my bad.
week.
It is spring break.
Totally forgot.
Awesome. No traffic on campus.
Yep.
That's
Sweet.
right.
Back to my cut through.
Heck yeah. What a great time for spring break because then they get to miss this stupid, ridiculous daylight savings BS that we have to put up with.
Yeah, they get to sleep through it for a week, and then they got to go back next week.
Yeah, but they can adjust themselves without having to like be up for anything.
See, daylight savings doesn't do this to me.
Why?
Because I'm always like.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. I guess it doesn't affect me like sleep wise because I'm awake early anyway. But like when it's freaking pitch black dark at 6:30 in the morning, like that's not very motivating for anyone.
It's tough, bro.
But
It's
I'd
not
rather
motivating
it be
for kids to go to school for one.
I'd rather it be pitch black in the morning than be pitch black at
No.
4:30.
That's what I don't understand why y'all say that. Like, this isn't normal. Does everyone know that, first of all? This is not the normal time. This is not the natural, God-given time that we were given.
She's on one of her rants.
Like, this is something the government did to us. So, first of all, this is not real. So, we're in a simulation.
Oh, my God.
But why wouldn't you? Like, the days get longer anyway. So, we're not dark at 5 p.m. without daylight savings time, regardless, right now, just because of the natural rhythm of the world turning.
I agree, bro.
So why do you want it? Like, why is your seasonal depression so important that you need it to be light, like blazing freaking sunlight at 7:30 at night, and then pitch ass black at 7 a.m.?
It's a fair question.
I think it is.
And it is a weird thing.
Yeah, it was always weird to me. That's why I never
thought of this. Like, it's like in the 60s in Congress or something. Like, what's the...
I don't know. There are so many theories about it, like farmers.
So were they just sitting around there like, you know what we should do?
Yeah.
Turn that clock
You really
back.
want to fuck with them?
Yeah, turn that clock back an hour.
You want to show them how much power we got?
Like,
we can change the time.
But they're trying to vote this time into permanent time.
Like this
right now, the time that we're in
so
today.
you'd rather it get dark
Yes.
early?
That's what they're trying to vote into to be permanent.
So
like daylight savings time would be permanent.
It getting dark later.
Right.
It being dark in the morning
Yes,
when you wake
not
up.
the real time. They want the false time to be permanent. That makes me angry.
I don't know what's real time and what's false time now.
Real time is what we just got out of. This is fake. We're now living in fake time.
Ace Jordan said it was done for farmers.
The simulation.
That's what I've heard. But then, it did pass? Ace, no. Don't say that it passed.
It passed, Katie.
Do you know that already, too?
No, I'm just going off of what they say. Everything that the... everything that they say.
Dylan in the chat.
In the Matrix.
Dylan in the chat said we need the sun out till 9 p.m. gets the grass right.
No, Dylan, we don't. You know, my worst memory of daylight saving time when I first started getting angry about it was in high school for prom. When you would go take prom pictures and it'd be like blazing ass sunlight, like this outside in like a formal gown. And I remember thinking, this isn't right.
This isn't real.
This isn't right.
Ace Jordan says Arizona has never changed the clocks. They don't
haven't.
abide.
Arizona does their own thing.
So
and
why can't
Hawaii, I think.
Why can't Louisiana
Who,
do their own
Louisiana?
thing?
What kind of question?
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
why can't we have a lot of things here, Jordy, that we don't have?
That's a better question.
It is.
You know, I don't know why we can't. But I think another state decided also to stay in real time besides Arizona. I think it's Arizona, Hawaii, and maybe one other.
So this is fake time to you, Katie.
This is fake time.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Katie said it was fake. We didn't have to go.
Yeah. Right? Y'all have to do this. Let's not do it.
My mom says this is fake, so I don't have to come.
We had a question coming in about Carolina getting the number 1 overall pick. They gave the farm up.
Oh, my goodness.
To get this.
They got hosed.
I mean, they got fleeced.
They did.
The Chicago Bears made a move with the number 1 overall pick. This coming from Adam Schefter. The Bears struck a deal with Carolina on Friday, and they'll send them the top pick in the 2023 draft. In exchange, the Bears have received 2 future first and second round draft picks and Panthers wide receiver DJ Moore, according to Schefter, who broke it first going in over the weekend. This is the first time that the number 1 overall pick has been traded since the 2016 NFL draft, when the Los Angeles Rams, then the St. Louis Rams, I believe, made a move to pick Jared Goff. This is now the Bears have not had the first overall pick since 1947.
Oh my God!
As they were sitting with it for the first time for a long time, but have not used it since 1947. They dealt it away this year to Carolina. But this was one of those deals where you were like, you're going to give me what?
Okay. All right.
We don't have to call you back. This is a done deal. Send the paperwork over. Thank you.
That's one of those deals where it's like no excitement on the
I
phone.
mean,
Just
hang
like
the phone up and be like, I think we just robbed Carolina.
You just put it on mute and it's like, this guy's a dumbass.
Right.
Yeah, we got you.
They're dumb as fuck. They want to give us everything. Should we take it?
And DJ Moore.
You're fired for asking.
Yeah, they better be right about this.
They better
They
be
better
right.
be
Who
right.
is it?
They'll-
Is it Bryce Young?
I don't know, Coach.
I think it's CJ Stroud.
If
I'm betting my life,
you'd go
which
CJ?
who's Carolina's general manager?
Tepper.
I mean,
David Tepper, right?
He's
Or-
the owner.
No, owner.
He's the owner.
Let's see.
I mean, if this was the owner's move, then everybody's safe. But if the general manager was up there and being like, yo, Dave, here's the deal, man.
Right.
I believe in X. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson.
That's the three.
One of these guys, I believe in them this much where we're going to give away this year's first-round pick, next year's first-round pick, this year's second, and next year's second. Bro, you better be right. And there is there's a certain grace period with a rookie quarterback that you go through. But after that period, it's over. And if he's not a player, you're Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
You're the general manager who drafted Baker Mayfield for the Cleveland Browns. You're out of a job because your life is tied to how that player performs. And how that player performs is going to dictate whether you are going to be with that organization for an extended amount of time or you need to rent your house rather than buy it because you're not going to be here long. So whoever you're zoned in on, man, whoever you are aimed at to take your pick and build, pretty much, I mean, you're going to build your franchise. It's Cam Newton. Think about the presence that Cam Newton had in Carolina for over a decade.
Exactly.
Cam Newton was the face. He was on every promotional item. He was everywhere in the league. When you thought about the Carolina Panthers, what one player did you think of?
Cam Newton.
Whoever they draft, number 1 overall, has to be that player.
Who would you go with?
I'd go with CJ Stroud. If my life was on the line and I've seen all of what I've seen up to this point, CJ Stroud to me projects as a better he's Josh Allen compared to the rest of the class. He's just bigger, stronger, faster to me. He's just he does the things the right way. The ball looks like it comes out of his hand a lot easier than everybody else. I can't fall victim to the Anthony Richardson moment. I've seen him play against LSU too many times.
Multiple times.
And I'm not going to get caught in the moment. I know somebody will. If Carolina does, that's great for the Saints. I think out of all the picks, Anthony Richardson would be the best as a Saints competitor. Yeah. He would be the one that you would urge Carolina to take. The one I would be most scared of if they did take would be C.J. Stroud.
So you're saying if they take Bryce Young, that will be good for the Saints?
I think that Bryce Young's kind of the wild card to me. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that size translates to the league, man. To be that small in the NFL, you got to be mobile.
The only reason he's
not Kyler Murray.
Well, who's another quarterback that size?
Kyler Murray.
That is very
Kyler
successful.
Murray.
That's it. That's really
and
all
Russell
you can
Wilson
think of.
maybe. And Russell
Who?
Wilson's still
Drew Brees
big.
was short.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
But Bryce Young's like under 200 pounds.
Right.
Or
He's
like
little.
just
I'm
at
telling
200.
you, when I saw this guy at SEC Media Days, I was like, there's no way. There's no way.
You won the
I
Heisman.
mean, he was standing right there, and I was like, oh, my God. How does he make it through this? How does he make it through the season?
He almost did this year.
He's 5'10".
Yeah,
Okay.
5'10". That's
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
He's no bigger than me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, and then you see Anthony Richardson and you see
Stroud.
Will Levis
Oh my
and you
God.
see those guys, even Stetson Bennett this year to a degree, you were like,
Stetson.
all right.
Is he bigger than Bryce Young?
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess
Stetson's
he's
like
taller.
6'2" or 6'3".
Yeah.
He's a little bit more, kind of wider too. I mean, he's not
Older guy. Yeah. 25.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
mean, he's
A couple
He's
of
like
beers
fully
40.
developed.
yeah. Couple of beers in, we'll be all right.
But yeah, right.
Yeah, they better get it right. My God.
Yeah.
Somebody has got to be
But
confident enough to know what they're doing.
I just didn't think that there was that guy in this draft that you'd give up the farm for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just
A lot of scouts said that the next year's quarterback class
Right.
with
Caleb Williams and Drake May. They
Right.
rank both of them over all these quarterbacks.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And if I was to take one of the three, C.J. Stroud would be my lead dog.
Yeah.
You know, he would be the one that I would say, if we're going to build it around somebody, he would be the one that we would probably take because projectively, he's got and looks like he has. When he throws a football, it looks very easy.
I mean, turn on the Georgia tape.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
Exactly. That's a great point. And you know what? Off of that film alone, I would probably take him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would say, how many pros you think's on that defense? More than 5, right? And he is dicing them up. I mean, he is going right at them.
Right.
I agree.
What about the Packers situation? Trading Aaron Rodgers and installing Jordan Love as QB1.
Rodgers is just so weird.
Well, yeah.
Is this deal done yet?
I think it is, but it's like he
haven't announced it
He all
yet.
but outright said it. Yeah. So yeah, it hasn't been like officially announced.
We'll see.
But I mean,
we'll
it
see what
seems
happens.
like that's pretty official, right?
The comparisons of Favre and Rodgers are nuts.
I know.
I mean, it's close.
Aren't they?
It's wild.
It's close.
That's really
Favre
weird.
Rodgers-
went and played for the Jets, his first team away from Green Bay.
Oh God.
He played for a defensive-minded coach in Eric Mangini. I mean, this guy, you know, saw the cat.
They
He
live the
looks
same
like-
life.
He's all defensive mind. I mean, like, it's just it's crazy to see the way that Rodgers has kind of like handled his departure from Green Bay, the way that Favre handled his leaving from the Packers, to the similarities of their career. Only one Super Bowl win.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really wild.
It's wild, man. It
Maybe
really
Brett
is.
Favre needs to go into darkness retreat.
Yeah,
and that would get him right.
No
again.
allegations for Rodgers. That's the best part.
Favre
about
would make
it.
it 3 minutes in a darkness.
Oh God.
Can you imagine?
Can I get my phone?
I mean, like,
Gotta send some pictures.
somebody turn the light on in here.
That's where they differ.
Gotta send some pictures out.
Do I
real
have
quick.
night vision on my phone so I can send dick pics still?
Hunter Hall, Bryce is 5'11". Nice try, Tider.
Yeah.
Nice try,
he's
bro.
not.
Those days are over. But by the way, I think Alabama's football program just got like called out on that.
Oh yeah, because they
On what?
all the
Like,
measurements
on,
were
on
like.
the measurables that they were putting out on their own players compared to
Really?
the NFL Combine. I think this has always been thought of as like you get a little love at home, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like if you're looking to get 6'2", we'll make you 6'2".
Yeah, we'll make you
know, it's
6'3"
all
if
good.
you want.
Yeah, I mean, like what's it mean to you? I mean, I just want to really be here. You're 6'2". You know, but like Bama was like going like above and beyond. Like the NFL projectors were like comparing like Bama's heights and weights compared to the officials from the NFL Combine. And, you know, I mean, look, they smudged the truth a little over there in T-Town.
Well, yeah,
Hunter,
they do.
I know that this is a tough day for you, but your boy ain't no 5'11".
Might be 5'10".
I mean, like, he ain't 5'11", man.
Hold up, we got 5'10" and an eighth at the
okay,
combine.
there we go.
So yeah,
I wonder whose car alarm's going off.
I don't
Kind
know.
of sounds like mine.
Really? You think it's one of ours? I was kind of wondering, is it one of ours?
I hope it's one of our three because nobody's getting it. And if there is that asshole out there that at 8:56 this morning has his car alarm going off and he's
God.
looking at it,
Oh
Yeah.
God, that's the worst.
I mean,
The worst is
it
the
might be us.
the worst is the one at like the apartment complex.
That's
And,
what I'm
like,
telling you.
Oh my
There's an
God.
apartment complex right
and
here.
they just don't shut it off. It's
Yes.
like, bro, you don't hear your car going
Yes.
off, and they'll do that like all night.
Somebody's
sometimes.
going to come like smash our windows in probably.
Oh God.
That's us. Hit the like button, share button, comment button. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Huge day over here of programming. Kadar's show coming up at 10 a.m. We've got Nick Diaz and Out of My League, 3 p.m. and mic'd up Jay Johnson interview heading into conference week. You'll want to check that out. Make sure and subscribe to all of them. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.